Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys and gals. We are working on a 2017 Polaris Ranger 900 XP. Today we are going to be installing the Rockford Fosgate stereo system that you typically get with these units, or typically got with these units when purchased new. It was one of the options. So this here's what come in the kit. You have the whole main center console here, along with the stereo already in it, the head unit, speaker for left and right, goes down by your knee. You also get an antenna, under dash antenna, along with a little package of screws, speaker wire, zip ties, instructions, as I like to call them, destructions, and an owner's manual. Okay, this was a pricey unit. Took me a very long time to decide to buy this unit, just because of the price was so much forever, and it's never went down for this style. So this is what I ended up paying for it. It was out the door $599, shipped to my house, and this is where I ended up getting it from. It's Recreational Watts. There's the phone number, man to get a hold of. UTV and marine audio, electrical accessories is what they deal with. So without further ado, I believe this should be a pretty simple install. So let's get to it and make it happen. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the hood. Like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the dash. My dash is already loose from a previous install. You have a clip here, a clip here, a clip here, and a clip here. I suggest using a body tool like this to pop out the plastic clips. That way you don't damage them, and mark them up, and this works really well. You can pick this up at a parts store anywhere, really. So we'll go ahead and get the dash removed. I'm just going to set my dash kind of out of the way, like so. Just because I have heater vents already in the dash and I don't want to unhook the hoses, this should be okay for what we're doing. Now, after you get the hood and your dash removed, the top of your dash, go ahead and unhook your battery, because we are going to be dealing with the electrical system, so we don't want to burn anything up or arc anything out. It's just safe to go ahead and unhook your battery, and we'll move on to the next step from there. Okay, next you are going to take a T20 bit, which is a Torx bit, and you're going to remove this screw and this one over here. Okay, so once you remove the two screws that we just removed, make sure you set those aside, because you are going to reuse those. To remove this, you just tip it forward and pull out ever so gently. Okay. You do have switches back here that need to be unplugged. So you need to unplug those switches, and then we can set this unit aside. All right, so next thing you do is you take the switches out of the panel that you just removed. Take your new panel that has the stereo in it, and install said switches back in the order that you take them out of the old panel. Okay, so for those that doesn't know, the one all the way over toward the driver's side will be your lights, if you've already pulled your switches and you forgot. So install your light one, make sure it clips in. Okay, and then the all-wheel drive switch, and this can be kind of confusing if you just pulled it out and set it down, what way it goes. The one with the full tires, okay, instead of the top one there, this is top, this is bottom. Okay, that'll go toward the floorboard and get snapped in right next to the lights. And then mine had a winch, so I'm going to go ahead and install my winch. just like that. All right, after you get your switches in, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that new dash with your stereo and we're going to go ahead and reinstall it back into your machine. All your wiring, you want to make sure goes right through here and don't cut anything or, you know, get obstructed by anything. Your power wire here, which is the longest wire on it, it has the two eyelets like that. You want to send that over toward the passenger side because that's where that wire will end up in the end. Your speaker wires, all that stuff, just make sure it's tucked in and not in any way getting obstructed by anything that's in the dash. Before you install this all the way, you want to go ahead and take your plugs that you unplugged from your switches. Okay, on mine I have 3 plugs because I added a winch. Okay, so the white plug with the tab down, let's see if I can show you. Okay, so you have different color plugs here. Typically when you buy the unit, it only comes with these 2 plugs. I've added a winch, so that's why I have a 3rd plug. Okay, the white one goes to your lights. This white one has a tab on it. There's the tab. That tab needs to be toward the floorboard. Okay, so this one goes to your first plug, which is your lights. This one will go to my middle plug, which is for my all-wheel drive. Tab down toward the floorboard, and then I'll hook my winch up. Once you get your console back into place, you want to go ahead and reinstall the two number 20 Torx T20s that we ended up taking out of the original unit. You're going to use the original screws. Go ahead and install those, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, the next step, we're going to install the passenger side speaker, which goes directly below the cup holder. You need to remove this bolt, which is a T35 Torx, along with this one and this one. That way we can pull the dash out a little bit as we're installing this. You also need to remove the cup holder. If you hit with your palm underneath or your fist right underneath ever so slightly, just like that, this can be removed. Okay, it's that easy. It just clips in with little plastic tabs. Don't need real big force on that, just a nice little tap and it'll come out of there. Once you pop this out along with these 3 screws, then we'll be able to install the speaker. All right, so take your passenger side speaker, okay, and flip it over. Grab you a speaker wire that comes in the kit. These are both the same length for the left and the right. You want to, this will actually go toward the radio with the connectors that look like this. You want the side that have the 2 female end connectors like that, and as you can see, one is smaller than the other. Okay, so on the back of the speaker you have a smaller tab and a larger tab over on this side. So naturally the smaller one will go here, the larger one will go on this side of the speaker. We'll go ahead and get those plugged on to the speaker. Okay, after those are plugged onto the speaker, we can go ahead and start routing our wire to go up toward our radio and install this speaker. All right, so underneath where this speaker lays into, you have your bolt hole here, which is already into the plastic, you know, already molded into the plastic. So you'll bolt it here, and there's a little nub right here on the outside where the 3rd bolt goes. Okay, this speaker will tuck right up in here. As you can see, that slot and that slot is made for the speaker to slip into. The reason that we pulled these bolts out of the dash like that is you may have to pull the dash ever so slightly toward you to help get those installed. They do recommend that. Right here in the center, right here in the center is a hole already pre-drilled. That's where your speaker wire is going to go up through. So you want to feed your speaker wire through there as you're installing your speaker, and make sure that it doesn't get cut or pinched or anything in here. You want a nice smooth transition from the speaker going up through here. And we'll go ahead and get this side installed. Once you get the speaker installed, you need to take 3 of the Phillips screws that came in the kit and a Phillips head screwdriver, and go ahead and install your screws, 2 back here in the cubby hole, and 1 out front here on the side, and that speaker will be mounted. Alright, now that you got your speaker all mounted in there, all's well, take your cup holder, go ahead and clip your cup holder back in, and reinstall the 3 screws that we took out of the dash. And this side is done. We can move on to the next side. Okay, at the driver's side, it's basically the same way, except for over here you only have 2 bolts, this one and this one, to remove. Pop out the cup holder just like that, pull that out, and go ahead and do the same thing on this side as you did over on the passenger side. So now that you got the speaker on the driver's side all put back in, bolts tightened up, cup holder back in, that's what it should look like. You should have your speaker wires pulled up out of your dash on each side, just like so. This is the wiring harness out of the stereo that we are installing. Okay, the white and black wire goes to the driver's side speaker, and the gray with the gray black connected together goes to the passenger side of the speaker, or passenger side of the unit. So we'll do the connections under the dash. We'll get those installed. Make sure you're under the bracing here. We'll do the connections under there. Make sure they're routed in a way that you're not going to be looped up on anything, you know, especially over here on the driver's side where you got all the steering components, you know, all your gauges, a lot of bracing happening over here. Find the best route before you connect them. Once you get them connected, we'll move on to the next step. All right, just to show you how I've ran mine, especially over here on the driver's side, I just brought it up here loosely, laid it up against the wires here that go up along the firewall, and kept it out of all of harm's way here. Okay, basically the same exact thing over here on the passenger side. I went underneath the wires that go out of the front of the firewall there, which we'll look at here shortly, where that part is, and brought it over. All this is just setting in here, not zip tied yet. We'll get to that step later. But that's how I did it, especially over on the driver's side. It's just going to be looped up around here. You know, this will kind of be, you know, zip tied up here, and you know, out of harm's way. We'll make sure that this is zip tied out of this corner because this is steel, and we don't want to rub on that and chafe the wires. So next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the black and red wire that is in the loom, and we are going to run that through the firewall. So let's get to that point. We'll go out in the front and I'll show you how we'll do that. We're going to basically go right where that red wire is in front, right out through the firewall right there, and we'll get all this tucked in, hooked up, and get ready for this thing to turn on. Okay, so we'll get you up here close. This is on the passenger side. This is where the grommet is supposed to be. Yours may have or may not. Some of them came with, some of them came without. Mine came without. Pull your wire through there. You don't have to pull it out extremely far or anything like that. About a foot, about all you need. Over right here is a factory block. This post on this side is supposed to be positive. This is a ground. And this one all the way to the right-hand side is auxiliary, which is key power. Okay, whenever you have your key on, then you have power here. Mine, unfortunately, does not have hot and ground onto the post. If it did, there would be wires running from the battery and connected to this block. So where I'm going to take my hot power from will be my winch, my winch relay here. So if you have a winch relay on here, you can do the same. So this wire right here is the ground, and the one right behind it here is constant power. We're not going to use the constant power. We are going to just use the ground here, and we're going to hook the black one, the black wire here, to this post, and we're going to hook the red wire all the way back here to the key power, which is right back here on this block. So again, the one farthest over here will be hot, the center one would be ground, and the one all the way to the right is your auxiliary, only powering when the switch is on, looking at the front of the vehicle. That's how it's set up. So I'm going to go ahead and hook these up and get that taken care of and move on to the next step. All right, on this next step, they do not include this wire, but I suggest hooking it up, especially if you're going to hook up an antenna in any which way, shape, or form on your vehicle. This is the blue wire with the white stripe. It's already got an end on this side, a female plug-in on this side. This is where you're going to need some wire and a couple connections. So you need a flat spade like this. This is called a male connector. You need this, and you need an eyelet, okay? And this will get plugged into the blue wire with the white stripe. You add your wire, come through the firewall again. You're going to come right up to the point where you've been working. This eyelet here will go on the other end of said wire, and it needs to go to direct power. So if you have a power wire coming up to this block directly from the battery, it would get connected to the left side of that facing backwards. From the front of the machine, it would get put to the left side. That's your hot side. If you do not have a power wire coming directly up from the battery, but you have a winch, you can hook it on the power side of your winch, which is on this one, on this KMI winch, it's right here. If you don't have a winch and you don't have power up here, you're going to have to drag the wire from inside the dash all the way back to your battery. That way you have constant power up to that blue wire with the white stripe. That's what I'm going to go ahead and install now, and we can move on to the next step. Again, that did not come with the kit, but I suggest hooking it up. All right, at this time, we're almost done with the install. If this kit comes without an antenna or with an antenna, it has an antenna plug out, whether you want to, put whatever kind of antenna you want to put on here, whether it's external, under dash, or, if you're just going to use this for the purpose of just playing music off of your phone or whatever. This also has a USB port in here, where at this time you would go ahead and plug in a charge point for your phone. This port here is actually for charging your phone along with playing media off of your phone, and whatever else. But as far as this goes, I do have a under dash antenna. I'll go ahead and get it installed and just kind of laying in here right now. I'm not tying anything up at this point, but you know, if you've got an external antenna, now's the time to plug it in, route your cables, or you know, your antenna cable, mount it to where it's going to go, and then we'll try to see if the radio works. So I'll go ahead and hook up my antenna, and then we'll see if the radio works. All right, so like I said, mine's an under dash antenna, so I've got it plugged in right here. It's just kind of laying out up on top here. For now, we're not zip tying anything up. Now that that's hooked up, we'll go ahead and hook your battery back up. That way you have power. Set in the driver's seat. You do not have to start the machine. Do not start the machine. Just turn the key to the on position. Your radio will light up. Should light up. This verifies that everything works. I've already, yeah, I mean, there's already a station coming in, so this is good. Turn your key back off. Go ahead and get underneath the dash taken care of now that we verified that the radio works. Go ahead and zip tie everything that we've done under here. Make sure that, you know, every obstruction is missed, whatever. Make sure there's no wires catching anything. And just get that all nice and uniform under there. And I'll go ahead and take care of that. We'll get the dash put back on and get the hood back on and go from there. All right. Next step is put the dash back in. Reinstall the top of the dash. Make sure you get everything lined up. Make sure you're not pinching anything. If you do have a heater, make sure your vents or your heater hoses aren't getting in the way of anything. Make sure they're not twisted or kinked in any which way, shape, or form. Put your 4 push pins in. Reinstall the hood. And the last step is to enjoy your radio. That's all it takes. Hopefully this video was helpful. Any questions, comments, whatever, leave them in the description, whatever. And, you know, until next time, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.